To use that one man's death as a vehicle in bringing tasers into San Francisco, which has been vehemently resisted up to this point, and that's why the police department has had such a hard time.
You have the police coming to the table with unclean hands, asking for tasers and things, but no one has been held accountable to felony perjury charges against police officers. You cannot come to the table with unclean hands asking for something. Show some accountability in your department.
Have any of y'all ever got tased before?
Yes,
And how did it feel?
it's very painful.
So why would you want to do it to another human being?
I am afraid that a taser would be disproportionately used against African Americans.
We have some pretty serious and grave concerns about how tasers would impact our constituency, which are homeless people here in San Francisco.
I feel like coming here to speak out against the police force getting tasers is a way that I can do my due diligence as a neighbor, as a citizen of this city, to protect future trauma and future deaths.
Independent peer-reviewed research by cardiologists leaves no doubt that tasers are harmful and often deadly.
A cardiologist from UCSF did come to the police commission and present, and at the end of his presentation there was a list that said if you are to get tasers,
which he's recommended against publicly.
I'm here to reiterate our opposition to the proposal of equipping CIT-trained officers on San Francisco Police Department with electronic control weapons.
Until you can show me that you've got 25 to 50% of the police force that has been CIT trained and is being deployed, we don't need to talk about any additional force. Let's have people talking down more. And until you can show me that there's been a 50% reduction in the number of injuries and deaths of our black and brown residents of San Francisco, we don't need another way to kill.
The trauma that could come to a person who has a severe or not so severe mental illness of being tasered.
In addition to the serious injury and death that can result from taser use, in our letter we cover a number of other negative risks and outcomes associated with taser use. Those include the risk of litigation against the city, of which others spoke about, the community alienation that can be caused by taser use, and the subsequent undermining of public confidence in the department, which might otherwise be there, the risk of overuse and unnecessary use, and the risk of disproportionate impact of tasers on communities of color.
This introduction of tasers to the crisis intervention team, which is supposed to be verbally de-escalating folks and talking them down, and then introducing a weapon to that team, is really a big slap in the face. And when I heard it, actually, at first, I didn't believe it.
I'm really concerned because during the Taser International presentation, Taser International themselves said that they do not recommend using a taser in the case where an officer is faced with a weapon, whether it be a gun or a blade. And so my question and concern is, if you're not going to be using tasers against people who have guns or knives, who then are you going to be using them against?
I am not hearing much about what crisis intervention involves. The purpose is to reduce fear. Why even involve a weapon when a weapon of any kind, a torture weapon like taser or a death weapon like a gun, is going to enhance that fear.
Tasers, an electrifying word. Bang, zap, huge lightning bolts surround the fallen character. Bolts to indicate the intense pain zooming through the body.
We're asking for a problem. We're just asking for one more problem, more lawsuits, possible, this is just beyond me why we're wasting money. We can use these hand shot, they don't talk about it, they went right past it, they went right to the electrical stuff, they keep going, oh, it's shotgun to do that. They didn't talk about it at all. They didn't tell you the options. They did not give you the projectile options that they have, and I'm sure there's many.
The tasers are nothing but a tool of torture.
As an African American mother, sister, daughter, wife, I firmly believe that tasers are not necessary in San Francisco.
The Mental Health Association obviously is very concerned about the welfare and care of people who are mentally ill. We do not want to see the police department use any of those tools that are in your toolbox on people who are mentally ill.
How often have we heard of police officers going to homes and apprehending suspect and they shoot a person because the person was reaching for a cell phone or something?
The people that it's going to be used against, like say people with mental health issues, heart disease or whatnot, that it would be potentially fatal to, those are the people that I think that you need to be talking to.
A lot of the people that we work with, they are also surviving many forms of violence. To put them through the additional trauma of experiencing being tased sounds, as the first speaker mentioned, terrifying.
Es muy malo que ellos tengan esas armas eléctricas en sus manos porque desgraciadamente dependiendo de la conciencia de cada persona, cada policía individual, es el comportamiento que tienen para la gente afuera.
Even though there might be guidelines, what ends up happening is that the police officer, it's up to their own conscience.
I believe there should be no tasers because of the mental health community, and I presently right now have several mental disabilities, and I deal with them every day, and it's already hard for me enough, but tasers is just another thing to be scared of.
Have we considered an independent
Study to try to evaluate and assess how the officers are being able to work with the verbal de-escalation techniques that were adopted.
I'm here to represent MHASF tonight, but I'm also here as someone who's been a mental health consumer. When I was homeless, I was hungry, I was cold, I was exhausted, and I was scared. And at my lowest, most potentially volatile moment, I was fortunate that the person who responded to my crisis didn't do so with a weapon, didn't do so with the threat of force, but did so with open hands and the words, "What can I do to help you to feel safe?"
If tasers are going to be used, they should not be used very often.
I hope that makes you see the great mistake that introducing tasers will be for San Franciscans everywhere, but especially our most vulnerable populations.
Independent peer-reviewed research by cardiologists leaves no doubt that tasers are harmful and often deadly.
The fact that many people survive being tased doesn't change the statistical trend that Dr. Singh and others have found. When tasers are introduced to departments, the death rates go up.
We know that tasers are harmful and often deadly, especially for the population in the SPFD.
As of the end of 2010, 27% of fatal officer-involved shooting since 2005 had involved the mentally ill. The link between elevated risk of taser injury and these high-risk populations is virtually undisputed. As well, Amnesty International, another civil rights group, made a report from 2001-2008 showing that African Americans represented 45% of taser deaths and are only 12% of the national population.
Younger officers are more likely to use electronic control weapons because they aren't as experienced in de-escalation, while older officers use verbal commands more and the device less. And to me, that really highlights the importance of CIT training. It is so key in the mental health community.
Because there's an assumption that tasers are safer, police officers are more likely to use them, which I think can make them really deadly because you don't think you're going to kill someone when you use them. In Oakland, when they started using tasers, the murder rate actually went up, but the police killings actually went up. So what we're really looking at here is the militarization, I think, of the police, wanting more and more weapons as opposed to engaging in the crisis intervention training that the commission ordered the police to do, which they still haven't done, I believe. There was, 10%? 19 months ago, the police commission asked for 10% of police officers to get CIT training, and only a fifth of them had done it as for a few months ago. I don't think the answer is to have these weapons that employ 1/4 of the shock of the electric chair on people that are suffering mental health crises.